Hello, welcome to the Quantum Healer. This is Dr. Tracey Allshafer. I'm really excited about today's show. We have a panel here to talk about yoga and the healing benefits of yoga. So Karuna, first of all, thanks for letting us come here to your place in your home where you're teaching yoga classes now, and have a lot of our students from One Yoga are coming here and practicing with Karuna in her home studio, and you're going to be busting out a wall and making it bigger.
Yeah, getting bigger.
And all of that. I want to talk to you a little bit about that sheath, the mental body, the mind and the mental body. Can you tell everybody a little bit about how you came to yoga and how that might apply some of the healing benefits?
I think I came to yoga when I was in high school, and my mom and I went to Brookdale, and there was a yoga event. All the yogis were there, of the big yogis of the time, like in New Jersey. So I met Mahan Rishi, my guru Reverend Jagannath was there, and then Omkar, who is Freehold Yoga Center's main teacher, was there. And I heard him one day after a yoga class saying, I don't know if I want to do this yoga teacher training anymore, and I'm gonna stop one more year. And then I was like, I have to do it with him. I just something about his energy and his eyes, and his hug. I was like, this is my person. So we did it, and then I heard from someone saying he does that every year. So he says it every year. But anyway, it got me to the teacher training, and they said there, all of you, to all the trainees, you're going to go through a transformation. Things are going to happen in your life, and it's going to be big. And we were all like, yeah, sure. But then it was, right? I had just started teaching in public school, so I had a full-time job, and I was doing the teacher training. And then a relationship that I had, I was engaged, and we broke up. Actually, he left and he didn't tell me. I just came home and he was gone.
Not even a Post-it?
Nothing. Stuff just like in the movies. All his clothes were gone, that kind of thing.
Oh, wow.
It was horrible. But that, and then it was like my cat died the same month, and my grandma passed away in the same month. So it was all the same, just heartbreak and a lot of mental turmoil. I was going through a lot of what was happening, why is this happening, and I couldn't stop the mental bleh. And it happened to be that during the teacher training, I was like, all right, I'm just going to go deeper. I'm going to hit the mat. I'm going to sit at this altar. I'm going to meditate. And I just did it more and more, and it got me through all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just remember just feeling like, wow, it just felt like so much ending at once. And I loved, my grandmother was my favorite person. She made me laugh really hard. Since I was little, I would, she lived across the way in Brooklyn, and I would go to her house a lot. And she was the one that made me laugh so hard I'd poop in the bathtub. And then she'd run away, yelling at my dad, you gotta clean it. So that was like my grandma.
So I love the many ways that it kind of helped you through all those difficult time periods, but it really shaped, it allowed you to focus differently, right? So instead of maybe focusing on all of those difficult things.
And the negativity, right? Yeah, the negativity. Yeah. Like my brain was going to the negative. What that relationship was the ending, and then I started picking it apart, going, oh, I should have seen that, all the things. And then when I would sit, at the altar, sit and meditate and learn how to let it go and learn how to breathe through it, as you were talking about it before. And there was just an opening that I could connect to a higher self, to the universe, and gain some amazing insights. I have journals full of stuff that, and I could connect to my grandma, she's still on my altar, right over there.
Aww.
Yeah, this is Grandma Irene, right here. So she, there you go. Bun grandma, because she wore a bun on, her hair in a bun every time. So, yeah, so she's still there, and I can I feel like I can connect.
Yeah. So I mean today, you could probably talk a lot about this too. We have a mental health crisis, for sure, and this is something that another layer of what the pandemic gave us is this huge mental health crisis in our country. And certainly this is nothing new. People have been experiencing anxiety, depression, all of these things for a very long time. Were you in that place? Do you think that you can identify with having any of those sorts of things?
Absolutely. I didn't know what it was called or didn't seek any help. I felt I just went it within. I didn't talk to many people, family, friends. I didn't really ask for help. But I had the yoga teacher training, and I had the people in the yoga classes, so they knew. And I relate. So that was when I was in my 20s. So I see my teenagers that I teach now, public school, and the pandemic, and there are more and more kids running to the nurse than I've ever seen before.
Yeah.
It's a huge problem. So I'm always talking to my students about, so what are you doing for that? What is your family, giving you, suggestions? It's on YouTube, like go check out breathing exercises, tapping, anything. And I'm talking about the yoga, and I'm saying how wonderful it is, and they're getting it.
You bring it into your classes, I think,
do.
too, right?
I do. I do a lot of breath work. The breath is amazing. Because I talk to them about how much this thing sometimes can be our worst enemy.
Right.
And we feel more alone, more and more that we're on our phones. It's.
Yeah.
We really need to come back to, you were talking about the body. It's about finding the breath and the body, and it's all this is all so connected, and we learn more and more about the gut and how it's connected to the brain and back and forth. So if we could just, I think, to me, it's more important for us to be doing all of that than anything else.
Yeah.
We have to do those practices before we can do the math, the science, the English, for the teenagers, but for us too.
Yeah. And our society basically continues to push people into the mind, right? And cultivating more of this part of the mind that we actually consider the lower part of the mind, right? Because it wants us to focus on these kind of, I don't know if the word academic is the right thing, but this process of rationalization or whatever. What's the word I'm looking for?
Like analysis?
Oh, what was that?
Cognition.
Cognition, yeah.
Cognitive thought.
Yeah, cognitive thought. And you're kind of, you get funneled into that place, and then you mentioned the electronics and stuff, and there's this locking in at that level, and what the practice of yoga that we've all experienced is this expansion into different levels of the mind, but you feel more connected to yourself, or your higher self, or spirit, or all of these other layers that get you out of that kind of egoic small mind.
So the students that I do teach yoga to, the teenagers, are I see them every other day. And I was worried at first when I was teaching them. I said, I hope it's, I hope they get it. I hope they like it. And now they're just coming and telling me, the days that we do yoga, I feel so much better. I can handle so much more stuff. And I'm like, this is the gift, that keeps on giving. Do it on the day that we're not together.
Yeah. And if you can't roll out a yoga mat and do a physical practice, there's breath work, right? Yogic breath work or meditation. There's these other pieces of the practice.
Right.
So
chair yoga.
I love chair yoga.
Lie in your bed, put your feet up the wall.
Yeah, so many simple things. It doesn't have to be complicated or hard. and a lot of kids these days aren't getting as much physical activity, so then they feel a certain way about that. They don't want to get into their body or do these things.
Right.
So there's parts of it.
There's an epidemic. I had no idea that they had no core strength. I mean, 90% of my students sit in the yoga class like this, and I'm like, okay, we're going to zip up the belly and we're going to straighten the back, and I literally had to walk behind them and put my legs straight behind them to show them. So I keep touching my microphone. Pull those shoulders back, and then I walk away, and then they collapse again.
Yep.
But the strength is not there because they're not doing the things that we used to do when we were growing up, outside, running around, mud pies. I don't know.
Yeah.
Soft. So it is a sitting in bed kind of existence with a phone and or a laptop. So this practice is going to be huge, I think, for them. I think it's more important than ever.
Very, very much so. Yeah. What other parts of this whole mental body or Manomaya-Kosha anything you want to say to expand upon that anymore?
I think it's like you were talking about, Sarah, as a practice. It's a practice that waking up in the morning. I have a wonderful card that it's one of those yoga cards. You flip it open, and that's your quote of the day. And it says you can either wake up, good God, it's morning, or good morning, God. So I love that idea that you can change your perspective, your mind, your thoughts, and it changes everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a practice. I think, what did they used to say? It takes 30 days to form a new habit. So that lends itself to that practice. You have to constantly work on it, right? And then you can't just stop at 30 days because there's other things that are constantly kind of coming at you. So if you're not using this as a tool in your tool belt,
doing it even on the days that the things aren't happening, right? Yeah. That's the practice, and then it will be there for you when you do have the rough days.
Yeah, preventative. Healing measures, right?
Yeah.
So it is really that. And I also want to talk to you too about, I think there's this component of like an uplifting feeling and joy of being in community. Yoga can be a solitary practice for many of us. Sometimes it has to be. Sometimes it is. But also just the aspect of it being a community thing. Yeah. I know since closing the studio, that's one of the things I miss the most is having that community. And I find myself, I grieved it for a year, really, was a part of this. And I love you call it Karunity.
Karunity community. I was, I remember talking to you about this so much, about I want a community. I want to feel like there are people like-minded or coming together and getting through our stuff together. And there is something so beautiful. I don't worry about that anymore because I've created the community and to have people come over and do yoga with me, and then we do walks, and we're thinking about doing yoga over the summer and everyone bring a lunch, and then we'll hang out and have lunch, and it's changing. One of my neighbors comes, and she has such a hard time physically, but she comes to that yoga class, and she will bring the little goodies for everybody because it's the community. Sweet. Yeah.
And everybody leaves uplifted, right? At the yoga studio, everybody would leave without their coats, without their, you name it. I would have to, every couple months, I have to gather everything and donate it to Rise or something because I would have all this stuff that I would acquire. At one point, I think I had 30 yoga mats. People leave without their yoga mat, and then you don't remember it and come back. But I feel like everybody leaves feeling so much calmer, more relaxed, more at peace, and uplifted. And we don't need all this stuff.
No.
We walk out, and it's and sometimes we just never need the stuff again. Right?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
You're right. Lighter. We're lighter.
Yeah. Yeah. So it must feel really great to be creating that here for yourself and offering, having something that you're bringing together for people.
I do. I love it.
Yeah. So it uplifts you, it uplifts them. Everybody's happy. So I know that everybody, that's such a bond you share with your yoga community, and so. Yay! Too many more. And you even have, you have our old.
I know. Everybody loves it.
From the yoga studio, and some other little things from the yoga studio that you have here. So I feel like, one yoga lives
Continuing.
on a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
In community and
Absolutely.
And community. So thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
And this kind of segues nicely into Julie's segment, because we're talking about the lower mind. I want to get to the upper mind now. And I want to talk about that intuitive sheath. So we were talking about the mind, Julie, and a little bit about the lower mind and the upper mind. That just brings us into the next sheath of the human person, which is the intuitive sheath, and that was something you wanted to talk about a little bit. And so can you talk a little bit about how you came to yoga, and then how that kind of opened up this layer for you a little bit?
Sure. So I've known you for like 20 years.
I know.
I can't believe it. And in the beginning, I was just spotty, my friend Beth brought me to, introduce me to yoga. And I sort of knew a little bit about it, but I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. I want to do that. And of course, I never really got around to doing it as much as I wanted to, right? Because things happen, right? So, with children and all that and jobs. And so my kids sort of got older, and then I was like, I'm going to do yoga. And I figured, okay, I can do yoga. I was a gymnast, right? I had no idea what I was getting into, because I was really more thinking about the physical body, right? That I wasn't really moving as much as I used to, of course, but it was my way of moving, right? I could do this. And so the first training I took was the second, the 100-hour chakra training. I had no idea what I was doing, because I was sitting amongst these people who had been doing it for a while. I was I didn't start yoga really with you until, I was 58, something like that. So late bloomer, better late than never. So that experience made me think, this is something that I never anticipated, that this is going to be way bigger than the physical body. So that's where I started feeling like, oh, so all of these things that I feel, I'm now connecting them. There was one situation where I basically had a near-death experience. So I don't know if anybody knows about ectopic pregnancies, but I had one of those, and it was 15 weeks versus 6 weeks, right? So normally it's in the tube, but mine was sort of exiting out into the uterus, so it was able to get bigger. And of course it was partially in the tube, so it burst, right? So I'm more like your husband. Oh, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with me, hun. Don't start looking up in the book what's the matter with me, or I'm lying there. Oh, just get me some cranberry juice. We call the doctor. Oh, yeah, you maybe have, some kind of infection, right? So he goes out, gets me cranberry juice. I'm lying there, and I go to sleep. And then I wake up, and I feel myself breathing funny, and I'm like, oh, I'm lying there. Now I can't move. And I feel somebody from behind lift me off the bed and throw me onto the floor. So I would not have been able to do that by myself, and my husband was asleep. So I feel like there was some spirit that helped me, whether it was a guardian angel or some person who might be my relative. But anyway, so I'm lying there, and I'm thinking to myself, well, I can't speak, I can't move, I can't talk. And I say to myself, I could die. I could die. I am not going to die. I said, I cannot leave my husband or my baby, who was only 6 months old. So I decided that I wasn't going to die. And so I told my brain and I work together, my mind, my brain, and my spirit work together, and basically shut down the rest of my body and made it, and was like, the doctor looked at me like, are you kidding me? So it's like you can decide a lot of times, like, if it was your time or not, right? And I talked my body in to not doing that because it wasn't my time. And even if it was my time, I was arguing. But then when I came to yoga, I realized that this was going to really sort of bring it all together, and that yes, you can speak to your inner person, you can speak to your spirit, you can speak to other spirits, and really, really help you through your path too, and so yoga taught me how to rein that in and try to be, get the most benefit out of it as possible. I mean, we all make mistakes still and whatever, it's not that it's perfect, but you move forward, just keep moving forward. So yeah, it sort of helped me to go with it and just sort of allow it to happen, Yeah, so.
Well, that was some experience you had going through that situation and pulling yourself through, but getting to understand that you need to listen to that intuition within you and how significantly important it is to listen to that inner voice or higher self, intuition, whatever it is. I think we all probably had moments where we've second guessed that. Maybe they didn't work out that great, or we listened to it and thank God we did, right? And so, yoga has this beautiful way of kind of shutting down all of the noise and the other stuff that we let influence ourselves, right? And then we're able to really fine tune into that highest self and that guided intuitive self. And so, I mean, would you say that, so today, you're much better, or do you still have to kind of quiet the mind before you can trust that inner guidance?
I've always just sort of listened to it, and especially if I felt like I was in danger. But I think that when you sit and settle in and sit with yourself and sort of just feel, like when we're doing the breathing in the beginning of yoga, through your training, I thought it was very valuable to get that settling in first, get in touch with the breath, and then move with the breath. So as you settle in and sort of quiet the mind and bring it in to the body so that it's, not busy as best you can. It's not always easy to do. I think I was able to just trust it even more. So that, and the thing is that what you said was, you don't have to work your pants off and sweat, and that, you know what I mean? You can get there doing it in such a simple way that I didn't realize that in the beginning. I thought, I gotta work. And yoga taught me how to rein that in and get the best advantage out of it, right? Just to make it the best that you can for that day. And then we've all talked about when we're done with a yoga practice or a meditation or whatever it is we're doing, restorative, you feel so much better. And you feel so much more grounded. And you just feel like, okay, whatever happens, I'll be able to manage it, somehow, some way. It could be good, it could be bad, either way. Because it's not always going to be perfect.
Yeah, this is true. Nothing's, I don't know. What's perfect? Such a relative.
It would be boring to us.
Life would not be interesting, right?
And we learn from all of those things that happen. I learned not to be so careless about, I could have died there. And it's nothing. It's everything's great. And so you have to listen and be truthful and don't deny it, and you have to face it.
And there's so many different ways that intuition comes to us. It's different for each person how you develop that, because some people just they just know, right? I think I have all the clairs, right? Clairaudience, clairvoyance, clairsentience, all the clairs. Sometimes people smell things and know, or see things, have a vision. All of these skills, I guess is a word, but we all have a different way of coming to them, and so listening to however that's showing up. And I don't think that this is something that we teach, too much. And so people I think, like what you were saying, people grow up and they think, I'm either crazy or, whatever. And then we just start to shut it all down because it's not being validated in any sort of way. And part of what's really wonderful about the time that we're living in and where we are now is that there's so much more resources, and there's so many more people that are able to talk about these things and make people feel more comfortable, right? We're not just locking you up in an insane asylum because you're saying you see people. Maybe there's legitimately people there.
Right.
And because the other people can't see them, we invalidated that in the past. But now people are going, oh, what do you see? Tell me what you see. I will pay you to tell me what you see, right? And then it's just opening up more people's skills and intuition. So it's really actually brilliant. You and I have talked about with kids. Kids are incredibly intuitive, right? And
I think because they're closer to the womb.
Yeah.
They have more of a sensitivity and a purity.
Yeah. They're just connected to source. And then again, if they're not validated, it all gets shut down, and then we become these adults who, are not really working with our highest self anymore, with that connection to source anymore. So it's very much, this yoga practice. So how deep, right? We start with the physical body, which is what most people, and as yoga teachers, we know most people don't even understand their body. But it's the most gross sense of what we can understand of who we are. Oh, I'm these bones and tissue. And we start with there, and then we start talking about energy. Okay, well, what's our energy? And then we start talking about our mind, and we get that level, and now we're into intuition. This is where people go, oh, that's that new age witchcraft stuff. But no, this is valid. This is parts of the human being that we need to get more into and explore. And I think it's going to lead us into, what we're in now, which is this whole next phase of our journey here on planet Earth as we're moving into this accelerated, expanded awareness. It's really exciting. So thank you for validating. I guess it feels good to be in this space now.
Oh, yeah. How much better. I mean, you're talking about the young ones, and that's exactly what happened to me. I felt like there was something going on, and then I let it go because so it's bringing it back, and now I can fully enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, those yogis like to really layer things. So there's still one more. If you didn't feel that that was enough of healing layers, there's still one more level, and that's the bliss body. So that's another thing I want to talk about.